lift the sector, but our next guest says not to lose sight of the smaller players helping keep the tech rally afloat. Joining us now, Eric Jackson, EMJ Capital founder and president. Good to see you, Eric. So I want to get your take on this rally here, because you say we could be at the beginning of a 10-month rally, which is going to benefit tech the most, like it did in 1981. So we'll get to your longer term picks, but at least for the next quarter then, which stocks are really going to see the biggest rallies then?
Well, I think that the concentration risk that Jared was just speaking about, it gets a disproportionate share of interest. I think the reality is these huge companies like Apple, Meta, and all the rest are just they are producing gobs of cash, gobs of profit. They are enormous relative to typical stocks, and so therefore their weight on the composite indices is enormous. And I think sometimes they can overshadow what's going on in the kind of mid-sized stocks and smaller stocks. So, and there's a big difference, I would say, between them today and Ma Bell in the early 80s or whatever Jared was referring to. These companies, the FANGs, are going to continue to be successful for a while. But the mid caps and the small caps have had a successful Q1. I mean, names like in tech specifically, names like Coinbase, Tesla. I don't know if that's considered a mid cap or large cap now. Shopify. A lot of these names have had phenomenal bounce back Q1s after a really disappointing 2022. And so even though FANGs did really well, I think you want to be thinking about what happens if this rally broadens out and starts to extend into other sectors and smaller cap stocks. And I think you want to be looking for names of companies that really haven't participated as much yet, but still have a strong underlying story. And that's where I'm spending a lot of my time and trying to focus on, because I think there's further upside in those kinds of names.
And you mentioned a couple of your picks here. You mentioned Tesla, you mentioned Coinbase as well. I want to talk about Freyr Battery, the battery maker there. Obviously, this stock has been under a lot of pressure year to date. But what do you like in it long term? I know you're also looking at the Inflation Reduction Act and really the opportunities there.
Well, right. I mean, obviously, the IRA put a huge emphasis on the need to build out electric batteries and the whole electrification theme, which stretches down to even kind of the pulling the resource minerals out of the ground in order to meet the demand that we're going to see over the coming years. Since the IRA, though, was passed, a lot of other countries around the world have tried to come up with their versions of the IRA. So a week and a half ago, Canada came out with its sort of answer, which also placed an interest on electrification. Europe is going to follow soon, and they've already indicated that. And so the reality is that when you look around today and you say, well, I think electrification is going to be important. All these car companies that are moving full steam ahead into this area, they will need batteries, which are the most costly components today to build these kinds of cars. And it's not just a car story, electrification. Keep in mind, like, we're also going to want it for our businesses, our homes. We need to store energy and so forth. If we have solar panels on our roofs and all this kind of stuff. So who are going to build those batteries? And today, the biggest players are Chinese and Japanese. And so, if you believe that there's going to continue to be tensions with China, obviously you would want to see some Western-based players producing batteries, and there just aren't a lot today that are out there. And so Freyr is one of the pure play Western-based electric battery makers that is still a de-SPAC pre-revenue company. And so it's still very, very small cap. And yet it's got a lot of momentum behind it. They are built in the midst of building a huge gigafactory in Norway. They're also, they've sped up their plans to build a gigafactory in Georgia because of the IRA. And that might actually be live before the Norwegian gigafactory is. So this is a company that, even though it's early stage, has a lot of momentum behind it. It has a real management team. It has real indications of interest in terms of big players giving them kind of offtake agreements. They have the financing. There's rumors out there in the market that they're going to continue to land further financing from a big private equity player, for example. So this is the kind of name where it bounces around a lot. It's a small cap. And so the volume is not huge, and it's only around $1 billion market cap today. And yet, if things continue to go well, if they continue to prove out the building of the batteries, it's the kind of name that could rocket ahead in over the next year. They have a competitor in Sweden that's only about 2 years ahead of them, but they're planning Northvolt that's planning to IPO later in the second half of this year, and they've said publicly that they want a $20 billion valuation.
Eric, I do want to make sure we get to some of your other picks as well. You have some interesting ones here: Rent the Runway, Bombardier, the private jet maker, and also Coinbase. Of those three, which ones do you see the biggest upside for? A lot of people are expecting Coinbase to really grab market share after FTX fell out, but that doesn't seem to be the case at the moment.
I think, we will see that it is the case that they are gaining market share. And now with the latest headlines about Binance from last week, I think that's a signal that another signal that they're going to continue to gain market share. If you bet on, Coinbase being kind of the last regulated entity standing, notwithstanding their current battle with the SEC, then and if you think that the bounce that we've seen in crypto in Q1, where all of crypto's market cap is up 45% on the year, is going to continue, then they are a natural beneficiary of that. When trading volumes are dropping, they are losing money and their stock's going down. But if market cap for crypto is increasing and retail investors are attracted back into the scene, that they're going to benefit. So I think that it's a very volatile stock, but they're already up 60%, I think, on the year or more. And they have a lot of further upside ahead if the run in crypto coins continues. The other names, I think Bombardier, it's a value stock. It sort of gets forgotten about. It's a smaller cap stock, but they're one of the dominant luxury jet makers out there. Despite the looming recession, there's a huge backlog of people that want to get private jets, and Bombardier happens to sell the longest range, most luxurious, arguably, private jet out there, with like a $75 million price ticket attached to it. So they are continuing to pay down debt, and that value is going into the value of the equity. So I like them.
We'll certainly be keeping an eye on them, and we'll follow back up with you, see how they do over the course of the next 10 months. Eric Jackson, the EMJ Capital founder and president, thank you for your time this morning.